World Heart Day is being observed today with the theme of Use Heart, No Heart. Also in this edition of Kantipur News, we have updates from the twin shootings in Rotterdam and Nepal's participation in the PUBG Mobile event at the Asian Games today. Good morning, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. World Heart Day being observed today. Poor diet and lack of exercise increasing the risks of cardiovascular diseases. CPN UML busy for election of a new leadership in Bagmati province. Leadership still making efforts for consensus. UML's Koshi assembly beginning today. Dutch police arrest a gunman who killed at least 3 people in twin shootings in the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And Team Nepal competing in the second round of the PUBG Mobile of esports at the Asian Games today. The World Heart Day is being observed by organizing several programs with the theme Use Heart, No Heart today. A morning rally was held in Kathmandu to mark the day. The rally was participated by doctors, health professionals and organizations related to curbing cardiovascular diseases. The rally, which began from the Shahid Gangalal National Heart Center, had taken a round of the Narayan Gopal Chowk of Maharajganj, while the rally, which had begun from the Manmohan Cardiothoracic Vascular and Transplant Center of Maharajganj, had traversed through the Narayan Gopal Chowk and Banswari before returning to the center. Risks of cardiovascular diseases have emerged as the major non-communicable diseases in Nepal in recent time. A research conducted by the Nepal Health Research Council in 2019 had found that 71% of deaths in Nepal were caused by non-communicable diseases. Of them, 28% were caused by cardiovascular diseases. The Ministry of Health and Population has said that risks of non-communicable diseases have increased in recent years. According to the Manmohan Cardiothoracic Vascular and Transplant Center, around 300 patients reach its emergency and outpatient department every day. Meanwhile, around 800 patients reach the Shahid Gangalal National Heart Center each day. More than 50% of the patients admitted at the Gangalal Hospital are patients with life-threatening conditions such as heart attacks. Poor diet, excessive consumption of alcohol, smoking, lack of exercise and being overweight among others can increase the risks of cardiovascular diseases. Doctors have said that a balanced diet and regular exercise can curb the risks of heart diseases. The government has ensured free treatment of heart diseases for patients under the age of 15 years and above 75 years. But the government aim of expanding hospitals for treatment of cardiovascular diseases in all the provinces is yet to materialize. Regular services of the Manipal hospital are yet to resume despite an agreement between the hospital administration and the relatives of the deceased patient. All services except emergency have remained closed as the doctors have yet to return to their duties, saying their demands have yet to be addressed. The hospital administration has said that all services except the emergency would remain closed until security is ensured. Prior to this, a 6-point agreement was reached between the Manipal hospital administration and the relatives of the deceased late last night. Based on the agreement, the Manipal Teaching Hospital is to conduct an annual health camp with specialist doctors at the Manipal Teaching Hospital in memory of Sukmaya Dura. The hospital is also to provide discount in the treatment of Duras, while both sides have agreed to contribute in investigating the death of the deceased. The case filed against Vinay Gurung is also to be eased by meeting the required legal procedures. 57-year-old Dura of Lomzung Sundar Bazar, Ward number 6, had died while undergoing treatment on the 25th of September. Following her death, her relatives had assaulted Dr. Anil Shah. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal, who is in an official visit to China, is traveling to Chengdu from Lhasa today. While in Chengdu, Premier Dahal will visit a panda breeding center. It has also been informed that Prime Minister Dahal is scheduled to hold discussions with Chinese Communist Party's Sichuan Province Committee Secretary Wan Shao later this evening. Dahal took a tour of Kailas Parvat and Manasarovar yesterday. Prime Minister Dahal, who is in his China visit for the past week with the Nepali delegation, including ministers, is scheduled to return home tomorrow. Kailas Prasad Dhungel and Krishna Prasad Dahal are vying in today's election for the chairperson position of the Bagmati Province Committee of CPN UML. Dhungel and Dahal are competing in the election for the chairperson position after Kishore Budathoki, Keshav Raj Pandey and Sanu Kumar Shrestha withdrew their candidacies. Although the election to choose the leadership of the Bagmati Province Committee was scheduled to start from 8 a.m. this morning, it has yet to begin. 5 candidates are also competing for the one position of deputy chairperson, 3 are running for the single post of secretary, and 12 aspirants are in the fray for the 2 posts of deputy secretary. 1,165 CPN UML representatives of Bagmati Province are electing the 240-member committee. The election is being held after party leaders had failed to reach a consensus in choosing the leadership. Meanwhile, the party leadership is still making efforts for consensus. A Politburo member Gulabjang Shah and province committee member Min Bahadur Shahi are set to contest for the position of province chairperson at the Karnali Assembly of CPN UML in Surkhet. Representatives have said that possibilities of election has increased as both leaders have remained firm in their claim for province chairperson. However, effort for an agreement is still in progress. Meanwhile, there are several candidates for other positions as well. Party chairperson KP Sharma Oli had already directed not to register candidacies by forming panels. Meanwhile, political, organizational and financial reports were presented in the closed session which began yesterday evening. Election process is to begin after the report is endorsed. The 604 representatives are to select a 135-member province committee, including 5 officials. Meanwhile, Kosi Province Assembly of UML is slated to begin today. Party chairperson KP Sharma Oli is to inaugurate the assembly. The assembly, which will run for 2 days, will be participated by 1,047 representatives and observers. A 215-member committee, including 5 officials, is to be elected by the assembly. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why has the government not reimbursed the due amount of the builders? Your options are A, lack of fund, B, inadequate process, and C, indifference to development. Voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for the international news. Dutch police have arrested a gunman who killed at least 3 people in twin shootings in the city of Rotterdam. They say the 32-year-old male attacker opened fire in a home before setting it alight, then stormed the city's Erasmus Medical Center yesterday. He was a student at the Erasmus University, which is affiliated with the hospital. A 39-year-old woman and her 14-year-old daughter were killed in the first shooting. A 43-year-old male lecturer was also shot dead at the hospital. Footage has emerged showing a man in camouflaged clothing being taken from the hospital building in handcuffs. The motives for the attack were not immediately known. At a news briefing after yesterday's shooting, Rotterdam police officers said the gunman was known to them. He was convicted of animal cruelty 2 years ago. According to Dutch media reporting, the suspect has been identified as Fawad L. The police said there were no indications of a second gunman. A huge ornate straw-stuffed dragon danced through the narrow streets of a historic neighborhood in Hong Kong, wowing thousands of spectators at the century-old ritual returned after a 4-year hiatus. The 67-meter-long creature was constructed using rattan branches, bamboo, and pearl grass. It was decorated with approximately 12,000 burning incense sticks, which were carried by 300 performers, accompanied by the sounds of drums and gongs. For over 140 years, the Tai Hang neighborhood was upheld This tradition, which began as a way to ward off the plague after a typhoon and has since become an iconic Mid-Autumn Festival celebration event in Hong Kong. The Fire Dragon dance has been included in China's national list of intangible cultural heritage in 2011. Time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Team Nepal are set to compete at the PUBG event of esports at the 19th Asian Games today. The match, which will be played at the Sports Center in Hangzhou, will begin at 11:45 a.m. Nepal time. 8 teams from the second round will progress to the next stage of the tournament. Nepal are competing with Palestine, Hong Kong and Saudi Arabia. In the preliminary round yesterday, Nepal had finished second in Group C, where they were placed alongside South Korea, Mongolia and Vietnam. Nepal had displayed poor performance in the other events of esports held yesterday. Meanwhile, Nepal has progressed to the quarter-final of the men's team event of badminton after securing a 3-1 win over Mongolia, while the women's team lost to the Maldives. The first edition of the National Basketball League begins today. Times International College and Kantipur Basketball Club face each other in the inaugural match of the league at 5:30 p.m. 2 matches of the league are slated for tomorrow. Royal Sports Centre take on Golden Gate International College in the first match, followed by the clash between Tribhuvan Army Club and Vishal Milan Centre. On the third day, Hans Academy play Times International College while Budanil Kanta face Kirtipur. Matches of the league will be played at the covered hall of the National Sports Council at Tripureshwar. Winners of the tournament receive 500,000 rupees in cash prize, while the runners-up back 250,000 rupees. Matches of the tournament will be broadcast live on Kantipur television. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin airs at 6 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.